Welcome back to another episode of Annie Makes Art School. I've been away from the channel for a little while because I experienced a significant loss. Someone who was very close to me passed away, and it was hard. And I'd been thinking for a while that I wanted to do a few sessions or segments or dedicate a specific amount of time on this channel to talking about the relationship between artists and mental health. Everything from artist-specific challenges like having imposter syndrome and dealing with creative block to kind of the opposite way around, having mental health challenges or grief and loss and experiences in your personal life that then affect your art. So about a month ago, I posted on TikTok asking the artists that I'm friends with on there if they had any thoughts or advice in general about the relationship between artists and mental health. And I thought a good way to kick this off would be to do kind of a listener letter section where I'm going to share some of the advice that they gave me, and I'll credit who the different creators were for it. And then over the next couple of videos, I'm going to do some sessions specifically focused on art as a tool for processing your feelings. I'm going to have a guest, maybe even a few guests, depending on what all pans out, but I know of at least one for sure, who's going to do guest segments specifically on some kind of therapeutic artistic practices. And if there are other pieces of advice that you guys have to share, things that have really helped you or guided you along the way, please let me know in the comments or message me on TikTok or Instagram or wherever you want to get a hold of me, because this was really fascinating and wonderful looking through the comments I've already gotten. And if there are other thoughts that you guys have to share, I'll do future follow-up videos with more of those insights. So this is just kind of a kickoff to our mental health focus over these next few videos. So the first one that I wanted to share is from Fatelore, who is a wonderful artist. I highly recommend you check them out. But I wanted to start with this one because I thought it was really important to address right off the bat. Fatelore said, "Art practice can sometimes be a maladaptive process for escapism. It's important to identify if you are caught in the loop. It's very hard to address, but can be incredibly freeing from someone who has CPTSD and used art to escape for years in an unhealthy way." So the reason I wanted to start with this one is a lot of the other comments that I'm going to get to are focused on how therapeutic art can be for processing hard things. But I wanted to start off by also talking about the fact that we have to be careful of not using art as a tool to not address the very real problems that we're dealing with. Escapism and distraction can be necessary sometimes and can be therapeutic, but I think Fatelore made a really good point that we also want to make sure that we're not using art instead of proper therapy, medication, addressing these issues. Art should be a tool, but it shouldn't be the end-all be-all solution to mental health problems. I thought that was really important to address right off the top, so thank you to Fatelore. The next one I want to share is from Danny B086, who said, "Even if you don't like the overall feeling of a piece that you've done, find at least one thing to praise in it. I'm putting my failures out there." So I loved this one because this is addressing a common thing that artists experience, which is you might have other people saying, "Oh, what you made is beautiful." They want to buy it, they want to cheer it on, but you look at your own work and are like, "Ugh, I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. It didn't match what I had in my head going into it or the expectations I had for myself." And this is advice that I've heard a lot in terms of your physical self-esteem, looking at your own body or whatever it is and picking one thing that you can celebrate and love. And I think it's a really beautiful idea to apply it to your own art. So if you make a painting and maybe it's a portrait and you feel like it doesn't quite have the likeness of the person you were trying to capture, you can say, "Okay, but I did a really beautiful job blending skin tone in it." Or I really love how I captured the kind of wet, glassy surface of the eye. It doesn't have to be that the entire thing is a success, but I think that's such good advice to pick one thing to be like, that I can celebrate, and we'll take it from there. This next piece of advice is from Ashley Bravin, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who said, "For me, routine and just showing up is so important. I also clean up every night and have clean brushes set out for the next day." That's amazing advice. I will say for me personally, I don't know how attainable it is. I am one of those people who has a very hard time cleaning up after myself in my studio space. I leave whatever I was working on in a state of absolute chaos 90% of the time. But I will say, I make a point, even if I can't every night clean up my workspace, I do try to make a point when things get chaotic of pausing and doing like a really thorough deep clean and reorganization of my space and letting myself kind of reset, because it's absolutely true that the physical space around you can have a big impact on the mindset that you put yourself in. Okay, up next we have a comment from Desi Delanoir, who said, I make sure my sleep, nutrition, vitamins, in parentheses, especially B complex, and most importantly, take time to feel the feelings and then let them go. This heals me. Such good advice. This is tackling both the physical and the emotional side of things. So I will say I make an effort to take my vitamins. I'm a human. I miss some days, but I can tell a difference in terms of my diet, my sleep, my exercise. When you're taking care of your physical body, it does reflect in your mental and emotional health. And then I also love that she specifies taking time to feel the feelings. I think that a lot of us try and push things down or move them out of the way, and sometimes giving yourself the space to cry if you need to cry, or, vent to a friend on the phone, or wallow and be in slug mode for a while and just be sad. Sometimes you have to give yourself room to feel something before it can move. All right, up next, Jay Spooky said, I struggle with not wanting to make art because I know it won't be done right, but I gotta constantly remind myself that done wrong is better than not at all. This is a gooey one to dive into. So first, this brings up the issue of the idea of something being right or wrong in art. Different people have different opinions. I am firmly of the opinion that there is no such thing as something being done right. I think that there are a million different ways to approach things, and that doesn't mean that everything you do is automatically going to be perfect, because you as an artist have goals that you're striving for, and you may or may not achieve them within a piece. But I think that this creator is making a really good point, which is that paralysis by fear, going, I can't even begin to tackle this, or I don't want to try because I know I won't do it right. You're guaranteed to not do it right if you don't try. You're guaranteed not to improve if you don't try. So giving yourself credit for creating, even if you don't love what you create, the process is the important part. The growth is the important part. It's the doing that matters. This is by Cards by Sona Mama, who said, hey there, I just finished a 10-week program run by the NC University, whose goal was to help improve mood and feel better about yourself. One of the positive activities they encouraged you to do was to change your mood to accomplish something. And for me, that means creating something. I have learned I need to create something every day, whether it's just an art journal spread for process or a card I'm going to sell. Because what we were taught is that your thoughts and feelings and behavior are all interconnected. By doing something, a positive behavior, I feel better, and then my thoughts follow. Hope that helps. I thought this was really fascinating. I think all of us can probably agree that what we think, how we feel, and how we act are clearly interconnected, but a lot of times I think it's easy to look at that interconnection as outside of our control, or kind of taking us in a negative direction. I feel bad, so I'm going to do this bad thing or think this bad way, or it can get kind of stuck in the negative. So I love the idea that you can use that in the reverse and say, okay, I might not be thinking positive thoughts, I might not be feeling positive feelings, but I can do something that I know is good in my world. I can contribute to a charitable cause, I can get my body out and exercise, I can make myself a delicious meal, I can create a piece of art, and that by starting that chain reaction of doing the thing even when you don't feel like it, that can affect how you do feel and the way that you're thinking and approaching things. Awesome, I love it. This is another little bit longer one from Let's Get Fries. They said, some of my favorite advice from art teachers. When you create, it pulls from the well in your soul. You cannot keep taking from that well without filling it up. Figure out what fills up your well and prioritize that in your life. That's some solid advice. And then this one is specific to art students. This is not real life. None of this is real. Don't get so caught up that you forget that. You'll receive praise, you'll receive criticism. You must learn to handle both, but above all, you must learn to be critical of the source. Don't just let anyone get inside your head. Wow, these are so good. So let's start with that first one. I think that it is really important to recognize that you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else. It's like the classic metaphor of like on the airplane, you have to put your oxygen mask on in an emergency before you can help anybody else. Because if you're not breathing, you're not putting a mask on anyone else either. So I think this is really true, especially with the world in such a hard state right now. It can be easy to be dismissive of our own needs, to say like, I don't need to go have dinner with my friend. I don't need to go to a yoga class, whatever your like treat yourself is. It's easy to be like, why do I deserve that when, there's war and famine and loss all around me? Like, there are bigger things we need to be dealing with. And the truth of the matter is that you can't take on any of that if you're a mess. If you are tired and broken down and without hope, you are not a good soldier in any battle. So I think it's a really good point to think about what are the things that recharge you and make you feel good and make you feel creative and make you feel excited, and be sure that in addition to putting things out in the world, you're also taking things in. I also love that next part. Don't just let anyone criticize you and you take it with equal weight. Everyone's going to have their opinion. No matter what you do, there will be someone who doesn't like it or doesn't agree with it. But not all opinions have to be weighted the same in your world. If an artist who you really admire and whose career you want to kind of replicate in your own way gives you a piece of advice, that should carry more water than if some random troll on the internet says, I don't like how you did it. These two opinions are not of equal relevance in your world. Super important, hard to remember, but super important. Okay, this next one is from Coley, who I love. Here's the username. Coley Zanakis, I think is how you say her last name. I hope. I love her, so I hope I didn't mispronounce her name. She said, for me, the only time my mind is quiet and calm is when I'm painting, but sometimes trying to create becomes noisy. When creating becomes noisy, it reminds me to stop and rest. Getting outside and moving my body is definitely the best option. The second best option for me is to simply allow my body to be a slug. Just slug out and let that battery recharge. Side note, I'm not sure if that was helpful, but it was the first thing that came to mind. I love her. I think this is really helpful. So, especially with social media, we're always seeing kind of people living the best version of your life. They're showing, they're getting up early, they're eating their avocado toast, they're going for a run, they're making 14 paintings before noon. Like, it is easy to feel like you need to competitively self-care, which is crazy. So it is true. Getting outside, moving your body, taking care of yourself really does help. But if what your body is telling you and what your soul is telling you is that you need a slug day, there is nothing wrong with a slug day. 1000%. Excellent advice. All right, I've got two more, and then that'll wrap this particular round of listener letters. These are not listeners and they're not letters, but you get the idea. Okay, from Laura Chan 66. When I'm super burned out and I think that I'm never going to make it, I remind myself that no matter what happens, nobody else can ever be me. Nobody else can make or create what I do, and immediately feel kind of special. My style, my art is unique to me no matter what, and that's beautiful. This legitimately just now, I felt like a little tear well up a little bit, because I think that is such a beautiful stance to take. It's really true. What you're doing is crafted by the skills that you've picked up over your lifetime, the media that you've consumed that's inspired you, the concepts that are rolling around in your brain, how you see the world. There's so many specific things that make you the artist that you are, that there might be people who have similar styles or similar subject matter that they focus on, but no one is making the exact art that you're making. You are a beautiful, unique snowflake, and for that reason, it's not a competition. It's not. You just make what makes sense to you, and the people who like it will find it, and you are special. That's beautiful. Okay, last one. Early Dawn Design said, get outside and move. Staring at your screen, paper, sketchbook, insert medium here, nonstop won't help. Take a break. This is a good one to focus on at the very end here, a closing thought. It's true. As artists, a lot of us have intense work ethic because it's something we're so passionate about. And when there's episodes of creative block or depression or whatever else, sometimes we feel like we just have to keep pounding at it, keep trying and trying, getting more and more frustrated. And at a certain point, if you're just staring at that blank canvas and nothing's happening, go live your life for a minute. Take a walk, hang out with friends and family. If you have a pet, cuddle your pet. Give yourself a break rather than just sitting there beating yourself up. So I hope that these helped you guys. They certainly helped me. It was nice to get some outside perspectives. Like I said in the beginning, if you have other thoughts, please let me know in the comments or message me on any of these platforms. And then in the next few episodes, I'm going to have some other cool stuff focused around mental health. Also, if there are specific subjects that you'd like me to talk about or have exercises relating to that tie into mental health and art, just let me know. Thanks, guys.